Yeah, I'll let you know. Hey, what's up, Seth? So we are live. I'm just waiting for people to sort of roll in. I'll tell you the count on the top left. I typically also open this on LinkedIn because you will see the comments on the top right where it says comments. If you need to message me privately, there's a private chat. So it takes a few minutes to sort of have people go in and kind of see the notification. But how are things with you, man?
Very good. I
Nice,
can't
good,
complain.
good,
Let
good, good.
me.
Yeah.
Uh, you're saying I could open this on LinkedIn, or I
Yeah,
shouldn't?
yeah. If you go on LinkedIn and you go to my page, you will see that it will say that I have gone live. Um, and I know I
Huh.
published it. Okay. So yeah, so you
I'm
kind of have to
like
go to
I'm really new to all these things on LinkedIn. I'm like,
yeah,
because you're like
yeah. So
LinkedIn Live. Like, what's that?
what? So it's not
What's that
posted yet.
sorcery?
So it's not
Yeah, I
posted
don't
yet.
see that you're live yet, but it's
Yeah, I don't
okay.
know. I've had one time I've had an issue where it did not work, but it says it's checked. You know, you are live. It says that. So let me see. Sometimes it's a little slow. Yeah, so that's
All
weird.
good.
Zero.
So let's. Yeah, we usually probably want to wait till more people are here before we really get into it.
Yeah. Wow, this is
How did you
interesting.
label this?
See, you know what? Wow. Just remove this. Okay, so you know what? Let's do this. I gotta end the broadcast. I gotta send you a new link because I think LinkedIn I have to recertify it. Okay, so let me do that. Let me Oh wait, what? Hold up. It says I'm live now. I said how to get a job in digital marketing. But let's
Oh,
see
there
what
it is.
happened. Yeah, now it popped up, but it's still giving me an
There you
error
are.
on this end. So now hold on. People are popping up. I gotta end the broadcast. I gotta
Oh
send
my
you a
God,
new
I can
link
see
because I think
myself. I can
LinkedIn
hear.
I
I
have to
can see you.
recertify it. Okay, so let me do that. I wonder if we're still live, but it's not
I see
capturing.
10 people. 10 people alive, but it looks like there's a delay.
There is no, there is a delay. Okay, so it is working. What's up? What's up, D Rod? D Roo? Who is that? I gotta see. Okay, so it is working. Okay, so it said
Yeah.
there was an error, but now it's working. All right, cool. My bad, everyone. I couldn't see the comments. Now the comments are rolling in, so appreciate all of you. Um, cool. So David Mendoza, nice to see you. Now the LinkedIn comments are coming in. Awesome, awesome. So yeah, I mean, so LinkedIn, you can see the number on the top left. We have about 6 to 10. So anybody has any questions about how to get a job in digital marketing, feel free to sort of ask Seth. So you know what? Let's kind of sort of start, man. How'd your digital marketing journey start?
Well, for me, oh my God, to go back to like 2009, 2010. I was broke, unemployed, film school graduate who was bouncing around LA with no idea what the heck I was doing. And buddy of mine invited me to a seminar, like a business seminar, and I didn't really I didn't know what they were talking about, but the guy was talking about squeeze pages and websites, and kind of blew my mind. Like, this is when it was still really brand new,
Yeah.
and that like opened my mind to this whole, like, wait a minute, the web is like this place where people do business, not just for puppy videos and emailing my mom and you know um, and so basically I just spent like a year trying to teach myself everything I could learn from the web, from online courses, from people I met. I had a girlfriend that taught me a lot about email marketing, and I just learned about affiliate marketing, SEO, PPC. I built my own websites. I ended up building my own film course. I just was
Wow.
absolutely. It was. I had been very aimless before that. I was one of these people where, like, I was, I really hated working because it's like I had to spend my entire day on a computer, like typing stuff I didn't care about. And this digital marketing thing for me really resonated. I was just so excited. I was so lit up. I was just feasting on information. And what I was trying to do is I was trying to make my own, income with my own business. And, because you see those ads where it's like, make 10K in a month or
Yeah.
this type of thing, which are all BS.
So,
You know,
how easy it is to make 10K in a month. Like, those make ads make it seem like,
not.
hey, next week it's not easy, right?
It's not. Well, what it is easy to do is sell people the idea of it.
Yeah, that's
And
easy.
you can make a lot of money with that. But no, it's not. But back, I get into more details. No, back in like 2007, like in the beginning, it was because Google
Oh my god.
was a lot easier. There were fewer people that knew what was going on, and you could literally throw up these crappy ads and this isn't really a real integrity based way of doing things, but you could make money. There was a system actually when I started out that was literally like you could get traffic to your website within about 3 days on Google and send people to Amazon affiliate links. And if you guys don't know what those things are, I can explain them. But it was like the Wild West. And the problem was that I was in a very chasing mindset. I was kind of chasing money, chasing opportunities. I was trying too many things. And it was funny because I spent like a year doing this. And my film course actually was making some money. I was making like $500 or $1,000 a month, which was awesome because I was sharing my passion. But these other things I had tried where I had really big dollar signs in my eyeballs, no, I wasn't making a lot of money. And I'd make like $40 here, $30 there. And I remember being I was still driven, but I was disappointed. And I actually had to go back to take like a telemarketing job. Okay. But then what happened was I was actually on a telemarketing job, which those jobs are real soul sucking.
Oh, and man, I've never heard anyone say they love telemarketing. Even the people who I call, they just like when I tell them like they'll call for car insurance, car warranty, right? That's common. And I'll be like, I don't have a car. They just hang up. Like they're just like, oh, yeah, right. You could tell it.
It's terrible because you're basically being used as a human being to spew out a script. You're not even human. You're just like a robot person. But anyway, without getting too much into that job, I was working this job. It was really rough, but I needed the money. And then I saw this posting on Craigslist for where they said like account technician. And I was like, digital account technician or something. And I remember like, I didn't know what the heck that was, but it listed all the things I had been doing myself, but on my own. And I threw together like a resume thing where I just kind of tried to explain what I'd done for the last year. And it was like, really sketchy because like, job experience was all scattered and I didn't have a consistent job since like 2008. I had a job, but lost it because of the recession and all that. And, to my shock, they contacted me within like a couple hours and were like, can we set up an interview? And I was like, holy crap, what, so I had to like make up an excuse that the telemarketing gig that like, I don't know what I had going on. And I went to the interview and like, all I did was just geek out with these guys for like an hour about, all the stuff I'd learned. And, it was like, I remember that it was such a different time. Like I was so stressed about money. I actually got into a car accident on the way to the interview. I remember, and I was like, it was like out of a movie. I was like panicked because I like had to get that dealt with and it wasn't serious, but I was like going to be late. And I like showed up like that movie, The Pursuit of Happiness, where he like runs in with he's painted his house and he comes into the job interview without the right clothes. I came in all out of breath and I was like really stressed. But then somehow all that nervous energy turned into me just really, I didn't try to, that was the cool thing. I didn't try to like impress. I didn't try to like be all like, yes, I've managed millions of dollars of ad spend. I was just like telling them about the stuff I'd done in very small scale. And they were like, I could tell they wanted to hire me right away. But they said, well, we're going to make our decision on Monday. And then they offered me a certain amount of money, which just wasn't enough. And I was like, dude, I said, I really want this job, but I cannot work for that. So then they upped it to like $2 an hour more than what I was making at the telemarketing place. And I said, good. So this wasn't like big money on my first job.
You mind sharing the numbers?
Yeah, I'll tell you. So this is 2011, right? And I was making $14 an hour at the telemarketing job plus commission. Yeah. And these guys offered me $12 an hour because I had no experience. And I was like, I said, guys, I can't do it. I just can't live on that. And then they said, okay, we'll give you 16 an hour. I thought that was a pretty big jump.
That's a big jump. That's a big jump. Right. I remember when I had a job. I made like $7.15 my first job, whatever. I worked at Popeyes. And then like the next job I made like $8.75. And I was like, whoa, that's like, you think it's like an extra $9 a day, but as like a teenager, that's a lot. But
Right. Well, I wasn't a teenager. I was like getting into my 30s, and I was like, this is rough. But yeah, so I work. This is the thing. This is the thing about the field that I think is so exciting, and the way I teach it is like, these positions. What I learned from this is like these positions are in demand. Nobody knows about this skill set, and even to this day, the jobs keep growing. And the supply of skilled workers is very low because colleges are still teaching very outdated stuff. So what happened in my career was, just to give you go through my story, is that I worked at this place, and actually my first week they handed me $100,000 of monthly ad spend to manage.
yeah,
Like $100,000.
that's a lot.
What? It was like 30 accounts. They're of different sizes.
Yeah,
I didn't know what I was doing. I had only worked on small accounts by myself, but the VP, my boss, was great, and he sat next to me and he helped me. He helped me with the actual work, and he also helped me with my mindset, to be confident and to be pretty even keeled dealing with people's ad money. And I learned so much on this first job. And the funniest thing is I worked there for like a year. I was totally content. I was happy to have a regular paycheck. I was learning a lot, but I didn't even know like what people were making in this skill set. It wasn't until one of my coworkers was telling me, he's like, we're on, like, there's certain agencies where they do pay a little less. And I tell my students, like, that's fine when you're getting your experience. But one of my coworkers was like, because he actually was on a work visa and he was didn't have as many options. He was like, this skill, you should be making about 60K, 60, 70K. And I was like, well, I'm making $16, $18 an hour. That seems kind of weird. And I looked into it. I was like, holy crap. I didn't even know that. And so through, the next couple of years, I did a mixture of trying to, do my own business and working. And I basically leveled up to that level, like $30 an hour next. And then within 3 years of starting, I was at 100K. I got a job at an in-house job at a drug rehab center. And it was like, they didn't bat an eyelash, they didn't, what's the word? Bat an eyelash?
Bat an eyelid.
Bat an eyelid. They weren't phased when I was like, yeah, this is my salary requirements. I actually had a really great recruiter that helped me with the negotiating process. And it was, I was providing a lot of value to them. So this type of growth like that quickly in this field is, super possible. And then I worked there for a while, and then I got poached by another. This is the other thing that happens when you start getting experience, like recruiters start reaching out to you. This woman, I was working at this one company, and I liked it there. I liked the people a lot. It was a little bit limited because it was a very small, company that wasn't really much room for growth. And then this other dude contacted me. I remember the recruiter was so aggressive. It was really funny. She really wanted me to come to this guy who was an entrepreneur, and he'd made $1 million sales, and he was doing a new startup. And I said, can you match my salary? And they were like, yeah. And I went over to this other place and I started working there. And that was actually the point. It was funny because I had reached this point where I personally was making a lot of money and I was very comfortable, but that's when I started to kind of think more about my lifestyle and comfort. And I realized I wasn't really happy working for other people, which I know a lot of people have that experience, which is when I went back to freelancing and eventually ended up making this course. I basically realized that there's still so much, nobody knows about this field. And I would help people personally. I'd be like, people who were struggling, and I'd be like, do you know about these digital marketing jobs, PPC, SEO? No, what's that? And I would tell people about it. And I was actually to help people get into the field. I was like, I should teach people how to do this.
Nice. When did you start the course? What year was this?
That was 2016. I had taken off freelance. I had a couple of freelance clients, which was really cool because then I had, some flexibility. I was living in Tennessee at the time, and it was funny. I actually went to Costa Rica for like 2 weeks, and I was on this spiritual retreat, and I had a vision.
Yeah.
I really did. I had a vision of the course. And I was like, oh my God, I like threw together the outline. And then I was like, I'm going to make this and put it out there. Yeah, that was 2016.
Wow. So now it's crazy. So how has the course evolved over that time?
Well, I mean, should I start by saying how it started out first?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, feel free to go into that.
Well, basically, I put this course together because I was like, I know I can show people to do exactly what I did. And I had very modest expectations. I was really just planning on selling a couple of, having a few students a week. What actually happened, which was really serendipitous, is I met up with a YouTuber named who had a channel called Engineered Truth, and it was a big channel with over 100,000 subs. But he was just talking about how much he thought college was a scam.
Yeah.
And I was like, this guy is my brother. So I contacted him, and yeah, and we started. He interviewed me like this, and people really resonated with what I was saying, and people started to buy the course. But the more important thing wasn't that people bought the course; it was that people started getting their own jobs.
Yeah,
like that was really
that's how
the exciting. What's that?
No, go ahead. No, that's how you know you're doing it right.
Yeah, that was what was really exciting to me. Is like, the thing that really drove me. I mean, obviously, I wanted to have a profitable business, but I really wanted to have a feeling of contributing. And people were writing us. That was the other thing. I wasn't soliciting any of these messages or testimonials. People just were so excited. They wanted to, have me publish their testimonials or come onto the YouTube channel and get an interview. And that's what started happening more and more and more over 2016, 2017 is when it really started to take off. And I was always very proud of the fact that it was like, it's not like some things I've seen was, hey, we made more sales, but no one's getting results. No, we got more and more results to the point where now it's 2021. And what's amazing is, yeah, new students are getting their first jobs, but now I've got this whole student base of people who got jobs 3 years ago and have leveled up like I did.
That's amazing.
It's really great. I mean, I got people, and this is funny, these people in their 20s. I was in my 30s. These people in their early 20s making $30 an hour, making $100K a year after having sweated and worked hard for 2 or 3 years. They're so much further ahead of where I was at the time.
Yeah. So let me just give a shout out to Jason, Jackie, Jamal, Aiko, Danny Shannon, thanks for stopping by. Jaren, thanks for stopping by. Enrique, Silver Fox Talk on Twitch. So Enrique asked on Twitch, how have you adapted during the pandemic, right? And I think for a lot of digital marketers, it was a time to that's how you know who was good or who wasn't, right? Because if you couldn't adapt during the pandemic, you sort of lacked a marketing skills, one of the core marketing skill sets.
Right. Well, here's the thing about the pandemic. Most people don't realize, okay, so job wise, definitely everybody took a hit. In fact, this is what's amazing now is that before the pandemic, there were about 50 to 60,000 jobs a day on LinkedIn and digital marketing. When March, April hit, that dropped to 25,000 at the worst and has been creeping up. Now it's back up to 55.
Okay, so
it's right where it was.
A good recovery.
Right. However, this is the thing. It's like a lot of people did have problems, but a lot of people did not. It all depends on what vertical you were in, right? So I had a student who messaged me, and he was managing the entire business he was working for managed dentists. So as you can imagine, that was really difficult. Or somebody's managing travel. That's very difficult. However, things like e-commerce blew up. Some of the students are like, we are actually freaking out because we have too many clients now or something like, this would happen. But for the most part, I got a lot of messages from people thanking me because some people were let go, but then they were able to find another job very quickly. And they would message me about how wonderful that was to have this skill set. But no, people, I mean, as far as adapting during this, during the pandemic, again, it depends what kind of thing you're selling. If you have a brick and mortar business, you have to obviously change your advertising strategy. You have to include different things in the ad copy. You have to address customer concerns. If you're doing, you just have to address those things. But again, it's been mixed. There's a lot of people that ran into trouble. A lot of other people, have done better. The other thing is the demand is higher now, in my experience, because there's a lot of businesses who are stalling, who didn't want to get online. Well, now they got to, they have no choice.
One thing
They're
I
kind of
read,
forced into the future.
it's funny because I read a comment today that there was a guy who was very smart, but he couldn't get a job because he didn't have an email address. And it was interesting. It's like you kind of meet a lot of people who are like, they're not online in some capacity. It's not like you need the greatest website. Sometimes you just need to exist. And sometimes your website is there just so people can call the phone, right? It's not like you have to be, people think online as this, you have to have full integration and all that. Sometimes it's just like, look, it's just enough there to facilitate, make the process easier.
Yeah. And it's not that complicated. I mean, this whole thing is not that complicated. I mean, it's just like, I was reading an article a couple of years ago, and I think it's about the same, is that most 50% of small businesses don't have a website. And it was in MSNBC. That's true.
50, it's like, and the thing is, you don't need a crazy website. You just need one to exist. Right.
Well, you have to think, I mean, like a lot of small businesses are owned by people who are a little bit older, and I worked at, it's funny, I worked at a company 10 years ago where it was like, they've been around since the 70s, and you could just see how hard it is for people to change.
Yeah.
Man. When something like this happens, it's very unfortunate, but on the flip side, it forces people to deal with shit in many cases.
That's very true. So, hey, what's up, Jacob? Thanks for stopping by. For Jackie, you won't see the comments that are coming on Twitch. You will only see the comments on LinkedIn. And no, I get that it's hard for them, but the beauty is you don't have to create a website. You can pay someone to create a website, right? You can, and now it's like get a nephew to create you a Squarespace site, and that's like you're already ahead of these 50% of business owners.
It's true. It's not difficult to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's harder to like send a letter and put a stamp on it than send an email.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It is.
And no, you have to be scared of scams, scared it's not real. Yeah, I mean, again, you should do your due diligence. You have to be sort of careful, but having a website, you don't have to necessarily be worried about being scammed. It's actually easier to scam someone on the phone, right, than on the website, right? Because you can sell them, smooth talk them, and all that stuff.
I think that both there's scams on both ends of things.
There are.
But
yeah.
I'm just saying, what we're just talking about is people's presence online.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just talking. You gotta be online. Especially now, it's just like you're gonna be really here. And the fact is, it's like, it's hard to scale if you're not online, right? Like, think about it. Let's say you get 100 emails in a day. You can answer that. If you get 100 phone calls in an hour, you physically cannot answer the phone calls, right? You physically cannot, and you don't know what.
That's actually,
yeah.
That's how I manage my students, because I have a forum and email, and I give them personal attention, but I couldn't do it one-on-one. It would drive me crazy.
It's
what do you think any of your audience is interested in learning about?
Yeah, so if anybody in the audience has any questions, about digital marketing, how does someone get started today? Like, what are the different jobs in marketing, right? Like, I know people can get jobs. They specialize in Facebook ads. They specialize in Google ads. Sometimes people focus on industries. How does someone get their feet wet?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I teach in the course. But I mean, like the way I did it was I just messed around for a year.
Yeah.
I didn't really have any direction. But the great thing about these platforms is that they are available to people. You can learn this stuff from, the internet. It's not like, you have to go to college. Not only do you not need a degree will hurt you, I feel. It's a waste of money. They don't teach digital. You can literally, go online and look up, things about Google ads or SEO, Facebook ads, and you have to start generating your own experience, which is what I teach in the course. Like, you have to just start doing stuff. Like, even like you said, even just building a website or running a campaign, just taking action. That's the approach. I've seen some other people that are more generalists about jobs. Is like, employers want to see something tangible that you've done. But as far as learning it goes, yeah, I mean, there's a lot, the reason I made the course is because like there's a ton of free information out there. It's like, if you got on Google right now, you could find a ton of great information about SEO, PPC, PPC, by the way, just to walk, PPC means pay per click. So Google, this is what I teach this in the free course. If you guys, he's going to put a link below. I get into this in more detail, but pay per click is basically how Google makes all their money.
Yeah,
like
a lot of people don't realize it.
Yeah, like I mean, 90% is from advertising. It's not even from Android or any of this other stuff.
Some money on cloud and enterprise email.
They make a ton of products, but the billions and billions, the $160 billion a year is from people clicking these ads. When you type in, I need health insurance, I need a car insurance, I need a dentist, and there's, the thing about Google is that they are so funny because they're, I like Google, but any huge powerful company can't be 100% good, right?
Yeah.
So they have this whole shtick about how easy it is to use their advertising platform. And I say it's kind of like a casino being like, hey, come, you're going to win.
Yeah.
It's actually very sophisticated to make the ads perform well. It's sophisticated. It's not as sophisticated as coding.
Yeah.
It's not as sophisticated as medicine, right? But it's more sophisticated than email, right? Like anyone can learn to open an email account in 5 minutes. Oh, yeah, this is it. But you actually have to learn how to do these ads right. And what happens is that Google has they have all this advertising, and they also have a lot of features within their advertising platform that make it look super easy. Yeah. Like they have this thing called smart campaigns now that I just want to punch somebody. Because it's like they're trying to automate stuff that you can't automate. You just can't. You can't yet. Automation is really powerful once you have a campaign that is working. But what usually happens, and I've had clients that have experienced this, is that the small business owner is like, oh, I'll just go on Google and advertise and I'll make a lot of money. And they set their stuff up and they just waste money. Because it's not done right. And that's why these jobs exist. Because you need human beings that actually can figure out how to do this. And like I said, you can learn it. But, and I teach in my course, I teach it from the perspective of getting the job, not just like, that's the thing is like, there's Udemy courses you can buy real cheap. And I tell people it's like, go for it if you want, but they're going to give you like 30 hours of information. You're going to be confused and they're not giving you the right information necessarily.
So I want to go back to a question. Tim Fox asks, he said, how can he drive people to his Patreon? So I think this is sort of a sidetrack, but how would you go about a quick answer?
What's your Patreon? What do you do?
So you don't know about Patreon?
No, I know what Patreon is, but I'm like trying to get some context for
Tim,
I don't just give
what's your Patreon dealing with? I mean, in general, I'll tell you, regardless of what you're doing, you need to people need a reason to sort of go, or you have to have a big enough following where you're doing something where people have like an emotional connection to you in some way that they want to support you, right? And
I mean, that's pretty much the same answer I would give. I mean, if you can run paid ads. The thing is like you've done on LinkedIn, right? You've done we call it organic marketing.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, a lot of these, people who are influencers, people who post a lot, they're doing what we call organic influencer marketing. You're building a brand, you're providing value, people become a fan of yours. Oh, I love him, I love her. And then people want to follow you because you've provided something of value to them, and it happens very slowly.
Yeah.
Right?
So Tim, he's an indie game developer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And isn't a Patreon like a donation-based thing where people
donate? So you could do donation. People typically have different tiers. Like the lowest tier is like free, like $1 to $5, like just support me, what I do. Then they have higher ones where it's like, oh, you know what, you get invited to my Discord group if you pay this much. And then the next level is like every month you get like a gift or something like that, or exclusive content, or you get previews, early access. There are different ways to go about.
Right. So yeah, the question really is like, what am I getting from supporting you in terms of like, are you making a game? Do you have a YouTube channel where you give free insight on programming or something? Or is the page just like, help, give me your money because I want it? That's kind of,
because it has to be like an emotional connect. If you're kind of going back, go for an emotional connection. Like, hey, I'm creating this game that's focused on this, or you have to provide value in some way. So whether they're learning, they're sort of doing that. So yeah, I mean, it is a good way.
Kickstarter and those crowdfunding platforms are really great for tech stuff and games.
Yeah. I know someone who raised 1.5 million for a product. It's a good
That's
product.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's
So,
amazing.
and again, you know what he did? He used Facebook ads to drive the traffic. It's a Kickstarter page.
You do need, like, there's not really much organic. Like, you're not going to post unless you go viral because, I don't know, the news picked you up. It just doesn't happen that way. But if you do have a Patreon that does have the right elements in place, Facebook ads and Google ads are very powerful. Because on Facebook, things you can target people by their interests. You can target people by the pages that they like. So if you want to get in front of other gamers or developers, you can do that.
Yeah.
That's what makes it so powerful.
Groups are powerful.
Yeah,
if you provide value in groups, you can kind of sort of say, hey, connect with people and kind of let them know your projects and stuff.
Groups is a great free way to do stuff. It's, again, if you're going to go free, it's like you're going to pay either way. You either pay with your time or your money. The great thing about paid advertising and why I push people in that direction is because, so many people want to avoid paying stuff. Like when you're in the job search mentality, you are not like thinking maybe like, I'm going to spend a lot of money on ads. So if you can just get a little bit of experience in that, then you have a completely unique skill set, because most people who apply for these jobs just haven't had an experience with paying for ads. But paying for ads is like, that's, again, it costs money, but you can get 500 people to your website in a short amount of time, and you can track it. That's the other thing. It's measurable. That's why so many of these jobs are in paid stuff. Like literally, it's like you turn on the ads, people start coming to your website. And
the beauty is that it's not one or the other. Most people tend to do both. They have like a free presence, an organic presence, and a paid presence. And then the good thing about paid is like you choose how much money you want to spend. It's not like, hey, I don't know. It's like, hey, we could put $50, $500, $5,000, $50,000, right? And it's
$5.
Yeah. And then again, the good thing is sometimes, you probably have experience with it. It's like, hey, for every $100, you make $400. And depending on your margins and stuff and how much it costs, that may be enough, right? For you make $400 in sales, maybe you're, $100 went to ads, so you have $300 left over. Maybe the product costs you XYZ, so you can figure out whether or not it's worth it in small amounts. It's not like you have to spend $50,000 to figure out. By the time you're spending that, you sort of know what you're doing, and you sort of have a idea. And if you don't,
better be know what you're doing.
Have you ever had instances where like people are ready to drop so much, and you're like, whoa, relax,
Yeah, you have to, like, when you have a client, you often a lot of it's education, pacing, expectations. Someone will come to you and be like, I want to spend X number of dollars. You're like, no. Unless it's like a casino. I want to go to the crap table and put down 10 grand. No, man, you do know how to play.
Don't go to a poker table with a lot of money when you're right. It's your second time playing poker. They're gonna steal. They know how to sense you.
Yeah, and even for my own stuff, like I'm in the process of scaling my ads, but it's a slow it's a process. You have to get the small wins, see what works, and then you funnel that into there, but you don't blow out. That's another reason, guys, why this is so powerful for advertisers that people don't realize is that I just saw a comment there. Is that you have to think about traditional advertising was very limiting. Television, super expensive, super hard to track. You're spending, these big companies spend like $100,000 on a 30-second ad spot.
Yeah.
And then it's all branding. They're just trying to get, like, Coke.
Yeah.
I just want more people to buy Coke. But it's like you have no clue who actually watched the ad. That's the other thing. Like people's TV sets might be on. They're not paying attention. With paid advertising, you can track this stuff so much. It's become an issue in the news a little bit, but you can still track and see if people clicked over to your website, what they did on your website. And that's also another reason why it's such it's surpassing traditional advertising.
So let's kind of go back. Sammy, so he asked the question. He's a digital marketer currently employed. I'd like to be a digital nomad. Any advice? So, let's you got to talk about your skill sets and stuff. Let me kind of see. So
when you say you're a digital marketer and you're unemployed, I don't understand. Like,
I think he's employed and currently employed, not unemployed. He's employed.
You are employed. Okay.
Yeah. So it
Where's
says he's
where's your
a
LinkedIn?
Kenya copy and content writer. He helps people with LinkedIn and a startup mentor. So, I mean, he does. Yeah, I think he's on Upwork and stuff. So I would kind of go is build a client base, build some referrals, build some stuff. It takes time, right? Because a lot of times, like, you've built students, you have students who have success from 3 years ago. So that's powerful when it's like students from 3 years ago can kind of talk about, because someone new literally cannot have a student who's had 3 years of success and has level up, right?
Right.
It's not
Right.
like, because again, most things are not like, hey, my student got a, I don't know, $200,000 job right away. It typically takes time unless you're already getting existing people who already have certain skill sets and you're taking them to the next level. So it does
Right.
take time. And I think building online presence, right? LinkedIn is a great way. And again, I think I've sort of put myself in a position where I can be sort of independent of location, but it took like 2 years of being active on LinkedIn and
Well,
building like a good
right.
base.
Well, here's the thing about location, being a quote unquote digital nomad. Like I'm a digital nomad technically, but it's like it's a weird term. Like, and what if first question is like in this day and age, if you have these skill sets, getting a remote job is not that difficult.
Yeah.
And it's really honestly because of the pandemic. Because before a year ago, if someone asked me this, what I would say is, and this was the truth, most of the jobs are in-house.
Yeah.
And the reason is, just so you understand, from an employer perspective, when an employer hires somebody for a job, they're investing a lot of money.
Yeah.
Just to hire somebody, it costs more than whatever your salary is. You're paying their taxes, you're paying for insurance, all this other stuff. So most employers wanted someone they could, physically monitor, see that they're coming to work and stuff. And then this, thing hit, and now companies are much more open to work from home, and they're seeing also that it works. Work from home does work. So you can have, like I have this student Matt Kerr who I interviewed, who was, got his first job. He was making $50K in his first job, which is a little higher than most people make. Usually it's like 40, 45. But now he got up to 70 in a year, and he's totally remote. So he's traveling around the U.S. right now. He's living the dream.
I think a lot of times people who sell the digital nomad lifestyle, they sell a dream, right? Because, most people are not by the side of their beach on a laptop, right? You're kind of monitoring campaigns, you're making sure results thing, and you're not like smelling the air. Obviously, maybe after work and stuff. But I do know, I mean, you probably are familiar with it. There are like digital nomad towns where you see people come in for like a month or two and they think they're going to be, and they end up realizing it's not so easy and they leave, right?
Nothing's easy. But there are things that are easier. And you're right. There is an image of this that's right up there with all the get rich quick crap. I actually have, there's different business models that, lead to different lifestyles. The good thing about digital marketing is that, as I said, a job is different than freelance clients. Because if you're at a job, it's true, you may be required to put in a certain number of hours. You usually are. And again, these are not bad jobs. Like people are initially, my students are thrilled because you have the flexibility. It's all about getting your work done. It's not about, you can't go to the doctor. You can't take a bathroom break. You have this flexibility. You just have to make sure you get your work done. When you have your own clients, it shifts. There's a different shift. When you're working for a company, what you don't have to worry about is getting clients.
Yeah. Because getting clients is a whole different thing.
Yeah. You also don't have to worry about your paycheck. There's a certain stability there. And the trade-off is, you have to work a certain number of hours and you have a certain ceiling to your earnings. Now, if you trade that off, what a lot of my students do is they do both. They have a salary job and then they have their own clients and then they eventually transition. This to me, I think is the best way because you're not 100%. Throwing yourself off the deep end.
Yeah, no, I think 100%. What a lot of people don't realize is put some extra hours in where you're working on that, where you're working, because you have to get good at sales. If you want to be your own thing, you have to get good on sales. You have to be able to convince people to pay you, because your employer, yes, they're paying your salary. You may look at, we made X number of dollars on this campaign. They only pay me this much, but you don't realize it could have taken a year to get that client. They needed to do this. They spend on their other stuff. They spend on all that. So again, now that shift is on you. Now you have to figure out how to market yourself. Now you have to figure out running your own ads to get these, right? To get these clients.
However, just to like I said, I like to inspire people and ground in reality. This is not that it's okay. Again, it's not that difficult compared to like some of these pipe dream, like 10K a month sitting on a beach. But what I'm saying is like, okay, let's say you have a freelance client in PPC or SEO and they're paying you 500. $1,000 or $1,500 a month, or even up as in my case, up to $2,000 or $3,000 a month, right? It's a big range depending on what you want your hourly rate to be, how much maintenance the account needs, how much ad spend. If you get a big client, they will pay you more. But you just then have to understand your living expenses. Now, did you say that this gentleman who asked us is living in Kenya?
So Kenya. He has an advantage in that
you really,
as a country,
you could have one client, a Western client, and I don't know the cost of living in Kenya. I know it's a lot less.
Yeah. Let me go Google it. Cost of living Kenya. Cost of living Kenya. So USD. Let me see. USD. Hold up. It's always hard. Is 40, it's like 50% lower than the US. So it's like 50%. Yeah, rent is like 75%. So it's a lot cheaper.
It's a lot cheaper, and so there is a big. But you can, again, the thing with Upwork, you get a couple Western clients, they're going to pay you, even if you're making $20 or $30 an hour. It's still much more than I'm sure that the regular pay is in your area. However, let's just say you're a Westerner, right? You still, if you're making, you have to just see what your monthly expenses are. You really want to look into minimalism. I think it shouldn't be. I don't advocate a luxury lifestyle myself. Yeah. When the funniest thing was I started making more money. I actually started to lease a Lexus back in California. Then I started to make more money and I got rid of it. And I went down to like a hybrid. Now I don't have any car at all. And I don't even have a motorbike. So really? you have to look at no, I use an electric bike.
Oh, okay. Okay. Makes sense.
But so then it's like, really, what are your expenses? I'm like, dude, people's monthly nut, as I call it, it's not that, it's like, if you're making look at these people that make $40K a year, $30K a year, that's only a few $1,000s a month. Well, if you can put together a couple of clients, you don't have to be crazy. You can have that flexibility. It's totally doable. And then there are, higher paying jobs like Corey Hermanson, one of my students who's 21 now. He started when he was 19. He only works like 20 or 25 hours a week. He makes $33 an hour.
Yeah,
managing accounts. So he did that on purpose. They want him to work more. He wants free time. He wants to be able to spend time with his grandma who's getting older.
Yeah.
But he could also be traveling. He just chooses to stay where he is.
No, and $33 an hour as a 21-year-old, that's a lot of
insane.
money. And 20 hours a week too, right? So that's like $600 a week part-time. And the other thing is you can use that time to also build your business too, right? You can build something else, gain other skills to increase it to whatever, $55 an hour.
Yeah, he chose this. Like I asked him, I'm like, dude, if you just work the normal hours, you're going to be making about $60K. But he's like, nah, I live in North Dakota. It's cheap to live here, no taxes. I want the time. So
that's more important. And I think that's the beauty of digital marketing, that you have that freedom, because in other areas you sometimes cannot get a 20-hour job. They're like, no. Right, you literally cannot. And then when he wants to spend more time, he can get more hours. Right, he can pick up another client or whatever. He has that flexibility.
He does, and that's I'm at this point. By the way, it's like kind of nuts. I normally have a pretty relaxed lifestyle, but I've decided to offer these. I'm having my former students provide coaching calls for my current students.
Nice.
And we just did our first one today. I'm very excited. I wanted to feel more like an apprenticeship, even though it's a super cheap thing.
Yeah.
But I'm just blown up with like student emails and testimonials. I went back and I started to follow up with people, and I'm just kind of like overwhelmed with how many people, I just found this dude. I was looking at my network for people in Montreal because one of my students is in Montreal. I found this dude who's a digital marketer, and I'm like, I looked him up. I was like, he took my course in 2017. I'm like, did you take my course? He's like, yeah, man. I did.
Funny. So how many people have taken your course altogether? Do you have a count, like estimate?
I have an estimate. It was in the thousands because I used to sell it for very little over the last few years, and I changed my price. It's still
look, compared to other people, when I heard your price, I was like, because I expect to hear like $5,000 or the 4 payments of $1,997, $1,997 or whatever. But that's crazy. That's cool, man.
It's been really rewarding, and I'm really happy that it's during the skill set is so helpful during these times. But enough about me in the course. I want to hear more what people want to know.
No, so what questions does anyone have? Honestly, I think a lot of people, a lot of people are just saying they're listening and they're kind of just absorbing sort of value. And Enrique is work from home since 2006. I think he does cybersecurity sales. So and I know what I think what shifted during the pandemic was that before, to get work from home, you had to get the job, prove yourself, and then they kind of like, okay, now Seth, you've worked here for a year or two, you can get it. Now the good thing is you don't have to go through that incubation period at a new job. You just have to make sure that, hey, look, just prove yourself. So that, I think it fixed that, right? Because once you know the ads, once you know the stuff, they're like, hey, they'll just get on the phone with you, video calls, whatever, and they'll kind of do it that way.
Yeah, it really changed, because I would get this question a lot before, and I would be very clear with people, because I didn't want people like I don't want people to have the impression they're like, oh yeah, I could just sit on a beach and do my job, and I never had any experience. I was like, no, man. Yeah, you have to. Usually, it did. There were some exceptions. Like Corey got his remote job a few years ago.
Yeah,
he was one of the, he was like that the whole time. But no, the pandemic definitely changed that. Now, when people ask me, can I get a remote job? I'm like, yeah. And there are some companies that will still want you to live in the same city in case they have like a weekly meeting or something to keep some type of connection.
But that's still not bad. You have flexibility.
Yeah. But then there's like Cayenne, who I just interviewed, who's in South Dakota. So I've got both Dakotas now.
Yeah.
And he's only 20, skipped college. He's one of the dudes I think you should have on your podcast, because he's like 20. He got a $20 an hour remote job for a company in Pennsylvania.
Nice. So what a lot of people don't get is it's like, $20 an hour. But when you're early in your career, and the other thing you have is a lot of growth. Like that $20, if you're good, that $20 an hour is something you only keep for, because if you know how to run ads and you can get results and you can say, hey, look, I took your $500 campaign and I got you 10, 20K in sales, you have something measurable that you can kind of say. You can say, look, I know what I'm bringing to you. You let me, and you don't have to be like, let me go. If you let me go, this will happen. But you can say, hey, look, I know I'm getting this value. Can I get a raise? They have no reason not to.
Yeah. So the typical life cycle, or there is a predictable pattern here, which you spoke to, and this is what I teach. I don't say you're going to make 10K in your first 30 days from your phone working 3 hours a week. I say, look, work your ass off. Yeah. In the beginning, and once you're there to learn, you're learning and building experience to put on your resume, and that's the beauty. Instead of paying some college to teach you outdated bullshit, pardon my French, should I not say that? Outdated BS. You're going to be paid to actually learn. And then, within about it's usually 6 months to a year, either you can start applying for other jobs, or you will get recruiters hitting you up. Or that's the best, that's the biggest, most beautiful shift that people have from this skill set. You go from being on LinkedIn and being like the desperate guy at the dance who's trying to get a date, to suddenly people are asking you to dance. It's crazy. Like, it's a big shift for people. And then people have different personalities. Like I have one guy, Armando, he's 50. He's one of my older students. Yeah. He's making, I don't know, between 50 and 60K, but he works for Caesars. And I'm like, dude, you should be making more. Yeah. And he said, I've been getting offers for like 70, 80K. Yeah. But he just liked it there. You know,
sometimes if you like it, it's not, it's like, because you don't, right? You've probably seen where it's like people are enticed by the money, and it's like, it's super stressful, right? Right.
Yeah. And that's the other, you have options. So, but you leverage up. And, but that's the other thing, man, is that you look at statistics. If you look at my book, by the way, we didn't even talk about my skip college for success, because I'm very much.
You know what? Hold on.
Did you get it?
Of course, man. Look. So he wrote a book, and this is why we're friends. Skip college for success. This is, how long did it take you to write this book, man? This is like a serious, like, there are books. People say they write a book, it's like 50 pages and it's like really thin and stuff, but this is like a book. Look at this. This is like, look.
Well, I'll tell you what, man.
Like that's
that book. So I'll tell you the real answer is it took a few years, because I've been talking about this for 10 years, but I actually wrote it in a month.
Wow.
What
is a month? Like how long were you on it? Because
I write fast anyway, but I actually had the discipline to literally spend 8 hours a day
for a month,
pretty much every day for in 2019, the summer.
Wow.
I literally had a workspace and I was super disciplined because I had this, it was in my head. You know how it is with you.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you gotta
I have a book in my head. Yeah.
Right. And I've been talking about it for years, and I finally was like, dude, I need to just get this thing out of my system. So I read some books that helped me with my discipline, and I literally would go to the office and I just 8 hours, man, all day, like a day job. And yeah, and I did it. And the book there's a lot of pictures in the book too.
Oh yeah, I see a picture. Okay, that's cool. These are
That's probably why it's so sick.
These are probably college. Look,
networking
college
like
kids,
in college.
College kids partying and not learning Facebook ads.
That's networking, guys, in college,
Yeah.
by the way. People say, oh, you go to network. I was like, yeah, okay, you're going to meet other drunk 20-year-olds that don't know what the hell they're doing, and a professor that probably won't give you 5 minutes of his time.
Yeah.
That's networking. That's the truth.
It is the truth. So Annabelle says, Annabelle, she's from Mexico. So she's new to sales and digital sales, and I need to coach my dealers to be creative online. So would your course be sort of helpful for someone like her? Or is it more to get jobs at other places? Well, actually, you could use it, right? She could sort of.
I don't quite understand her question. She's in digital sales, so she's trying to bring in clients, or if she needs help with the actual.
I guess she has to coach. My
dealers to be creative online.
Yeah, so she's group sales manager at a Mazda motor in Mexico.
Are you guys running Facebook and Google ads? If you want to learn how to do that, then yeah, that's.
Yeah. So Annabelle, send me a message, or later I'm gonna post it in the chat. But yeah, no, respect, man. I eventually want to write a book. Not now, because I need like a month free to sit down, or else I know I'm not gonna write. I still haven't cleaned my room, so that's like the first thing I gotta do. But no, it's interesting. And what else? So there's Google ads, Facebook ads. What else is there other than the ads? Like, what other digital marketing skills would you say sort of complement that?
I mean, okay, you got SEO, which is basically helping websites rank higher in the Google and Bing search results.
Yeah, do you teach that?
And yeah.
Okay, nice.
Remember, I'm teaching. This is the thing. It's like if somebody wants like an advanced Google or Facebook. I'm in sales and I need to encourage them to be in little kind of digitally. Yeah, the thing about that is that are you going to be running the ads, or are they? You could possibly send them to my course. My course is the unique thing is that it's for people who want a job or want a career. It's not a straight just Google ads or Facebook course, because there's a ton of content in there about your resume, your LinkedIn, getting clients and the whole mindset and everything. But the heart of it, like the actual training, in my experience and from my feedback, is it's really solid and unique.
Well,
there's a lot of free videos
an idea. You should give one of your students. Annabelle, you should hire one of his students. Right? That wouldn't be a bad option.
You could do that. Everything. I don't know if I have students in Mexico. I definitely have gotten people asking me about it.
In other parts of the world, who it makes sense to sort of have a client in Mexico.
I mean, there's anywhere people do Google ads.
Yeah. In a Spanish-speaking country, I guess, right? Because
it would be. But that's another thing for anyone watching. If you're bilingual, it's very, very helpful, because there's a lack of skilled workers in PPC SEO, but there's a super lack of skilled workers who are bilingual in Spanish, English.
Interesting.
And even French English, right? If you have a French company or you have a German company, But when you're asking, analytics is a huge thing. Actually, I just interviewed someone, Kayla, who was a grad student who was really trying to quit grad school and now does analytics, which is kind of funny because she's such an analytical person. She came from molecular biology. But analytics is the process of it basically analyzing user visitor behavior on websites. And honestly, in my course, funny thing is I teach the basics. I teach the basics of everything. And then I focus on the strategy of how to get the job. And it's funny because she got this entry-level $40K a year analytics position and then learned a ton of stuff on the job that then 11 months later, she got a $55K job. I just posted that on YouTube, actually.
Nice.
And she actually, the first job she loved, but they wouldn't let her work from home.
Oh,
which was because she's in Missouri, and I guess the
yeah,
company was like, they don't take this thing very seriously.
yeah,
They think it's, I don't know what they think of it, but
yeah,
she has a elderly grandma, so she didn't want to really risk
yeah.
getting her sick, and she was really stressed. But she just looked out there, and then these other company,
And you know, that's the
loves her.
beauty. That's the beauty of something like this. You have skills that so many businesses and companies can use. That if you feel that a company is not respecting or is not giving you what you need, right? They're not meeting your needs. You know how to market. So, and the good thing is you can demonstrate that you know the knowledge. You can say, "Hey, I've ran campaigns," or you could even say, "Let me look at your campaign. I can instantly tell you what you're kind of doing wrong, or at least have an
Yeah.
idea of suggestions." And they know what you're talking about.
The big thing is for people watching this who might be interested is that, like, I know I can't remember exactly myself because it was 10 years ago,
Yeah,
but I have so many students. I know it's very intimidating, and especially on LinkedIn, especially when you've been, I remember what it was like to struggle with work and
yeah,
to be so frustrated because I just didn't know how to make it work or get into a field I liked. And it was just felt like this, I was in an audition process, I was trying to get this role for a movie and I can't,
yeah,
nobody wants to look at me. And the thing is that you don't need to be an expert.
yeah,
You don't need to be someone with 5 years experience. That's what I talk about. If you look at my YouTube channel, I do these walkthrough videos. And
yeah,
all these job postings on LinkedIn are so funny because I teach people how to read the posting,
yeah, yeah,
because companies will say you need 5 years, 5 years experience. It's not true. Like, I
yeah, yeah,
literally had one of my students, Basma, who I interviewed, is like, she's getting all this freelance work through the system I teach, and she's got recruiters hitting her up. And literally, the one she sent me is like, they're like desperate. They really need someone. So she's like, Seth, can you send this to some of your students? But the job posting said 2 years.
yeah,
Basma only has 6 months. She's
yeah, yeah,
transparent about it. She doesn't lie. She's like, yeah, I started in May. Are you still interested? Yeah.
yeah.
You can do the work. You understand this stuff.
You
Most
know what the
people don't.
you know what the crazy thing is? I meet a lot of people who work in marketing, and they don't even really know the details of Facebook ads and Google ads. Like they know it exists, and you put some money in, but it's crazy how they don't know. And I feel like you should at least understand like some detail. Maybe not like all the way to the specific campaign level and stuff, and the specific and all that, but you should know the basics. Like, hey, retargeting, this, that, the interest, the
There
likes,
is
and
this is the other reason, guys, why this opportunities exist. There's this schism, like you're describing, in the marketing field, and it's also in the university system, where every major university, for the most part, has a marketing program. Still does not teach digital
yeah,
as part of their core curriculum. It literally is an elective. Literally, these programs are so outdated, and they're taught by these 67-year-old professors. I literally had a screenshot from NYU where I went, where they literally have a picture up from the marketing. It's like their
marketing department.
little sales page about the marketing program, how prestigious it is. And the guy lecturing is got to be 70 or it got to be 80 years old.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, I have nothing. Obviously, I'm not ageist, but I'm
Yeah.
like, you need people that are current.
Yeah.
And even one of the younger professors I've heard people talk about, his name is Scott Galloway.
Yeah, I like him. Yeah, I met him in person.
I think you
was at a
mentioned him.
live- Yeah.
However, the funny thing is, I have a video on my YouTube channel where I kind of rip him apart about
Yeah,
something he said. Was he didn't understand all these jobs, so he was kind of lamenting, I think, that Amazon and Facebook have this monopoly on things, which is true. But he was talking about how the industry's in decline and there's no jobs, and I was like,
Nah.
you are obviously so disconnected from the job
Yeah, yeah.
area. I actually went off on him in a YouTube video because I was like, dude, these poor college students are listening to this and they're like totally oblivious to these PPC and SEO jobs. I've had people come to me from NYU graduate programs, digital media and stuff.
Yeah.
They've done these stupid projects. And then I'm like, did you guys learn Google ads? And she was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, how much money did you pay these people? And now she's like, oh, I can't stay in New York. I can't find a job. I'm like, no, dude, you literally, I got all these people in New York who don't have college degrees who have these great jobs.
Yeah.
Nah,
I mean, it's crazy because again, they kind of stay in that bubble environment, and their results are, hey, our graduates are not getting jobs because the market's changed. But it's like, look, you gotta adapt. You gotta do these things because no one wants to pay someone like you have to, as things are moving more and more digital, right? What's funny? I knew someone, what his sales strategy was. He'd go on the yellow pages. He'd look up people who took ads in the yellow pages. He cold called them and he would pitch websites to them because he was like, anybody in the yellow pages definitely has enough money to set on fire to advertise in the yellow pages.
Right.
And it's like you just got to get creative and you got to like adapt because there's so many jobs in there. Any money spent on the yellow pages is complete waste. So
I don't think they still do that, but but if you just target older people, like if you want to target older people, but what I was just to finish my thought from before is like, and in the marketing, like there's literally like, if you know a marketer, they're not a digital marketer, then they're usually off in some, like, what are they marketing? I mean, are they doing event marketing? Are they doing TV marketing? Are they doing billboard marketing? I mean, digital is where it's at, and it's not still not taken seriously, and it's very similar. It reminds me a lot of Kodak.
Yeah.
I come from Rochester, and I remember those guys were such idiots. Like, they literally had the first digital camera in like 19 whatever, and they were so big and they were so pompous that they ignored it. They ignored digital, and then they just destroyed a 100-year-old company. And these universities and people in marketing the same way, they'll dismiss it because they don't get it. Yeah. And now I'm like, this is a $200 billion a year industry. People spend like $8 billion on Black Friday on e-commerce. It's not some fad. I actually had a student who's in college in Washington who told me it. A girl he met at a party was like, she's a marketing major, and the professor said Facebook ads are a fad.
They said that in 2014, and it's like 6 years later. And
no, they said that in
That's crazy.
But again, it's not it means there's more opportunity for you guys, the people who are smarter.
Yeah. So look, I'm gonna drop the link so you have a free course, right? A small free course. Feel free to if you need any other things, feel free to send me a message. Feel free to connect with Seth. I'm tagging him in the comments. Just let him know, hey, I saw you on the live. I'd love to connect. Follow. You guys follow him on YouTube, all that stuff. I'm dropping it in.
Should I drop those? Should I tell them the name of the YouTube and everything?
I'm actually gonna drop it in the chat. I mean, they could message me if anything. If anybody messages me, I'll definitely give it to you. I kind of have it from you. But any final questions before we sort of wrap up? I know we're hitting the hour mark. I hope everyone sort of found this pretty helpful. I mean, you definitely know your stuff. And they said that's what happened to Folgers. I've seen so many new I haven't seen a Folgers commercial, and I forgot Folgers was a brand.
Wow.
You remember the commercials? Like they had those good commercials where it was like the morning, the coffee company.
The best part of waking up.
Yeah.
Jingle.
I haven't heard of Folgers in like years. Like I can't even remember. Like now there are all these new age coffee companies, and
I know, man. Different market. Yeah. I was at a conference and I met this guy who wrote all these jingles from the 80s and 90s, dude. Shit I grew up with. And I thought it was hilarious. He actually wrote like a Toyota jingle that I remembered 30 years later.
That's crazy.
And I was like, that is crazy. But it doesn't work that way anymore, No one's, there's no like jingles, or maybe for like big car insurance ads, but everyone's, doing their ad through.
I mean, car insurance is competitive, right? The online ad space for car insurance, I know it's like, that's like insurance is probably what's the most competitive online space in terms of ad? It's insurance, right?
Insurance, car insurance, and lawyers. DUI. Those clicks can cost $80, $100. Wow, it's crazy. If you guys Google car insurance, click on an ad, you just cost them $100 if you don't buy it. And no, I actually knew some people who are doing a lot of the advertising for Geico, and the budget is. You wouldn't believe it. Let's just say the number of zeros is more than you might think. Wow. It's crazy. But as far as the free mini course goes, guys, you're going to learn. I said I'll get more in detail about what these jobs are, like what the kind of skill sets are, and just kind of flesh it out a little more if it seems a little confusing at this point.
Yeah. So Ed Brown, you said you want help marketing Facebook and Google ads, but you don't want to. If you don't want to pay a lot of money, the cheapest you can do is actually learn it yourself, right? That's
you don't want to pay a lot of money for the ads or to learn it.
No. He doesn't. I think basically he said he doesn't want to pay a lot of money. You can't get around on paying for the ads.
On the ads or to learn it.
I think basically just paying for it in general. I mean, Ed, you mind just getting? It's gonna be a delay, but the cheapest you can ever get is learning it yourself and executing it yourself, right? But you have to get good at it because you can waste a lot of money running ineffective ads, right? That's the
Yeah, I
downside
mean,
of
that's
it.
my attitude is basically like there are certain things that I try to learn myself. If I could go back in time and take my own course, I'd do it.
Yeah.
It was not pleasant to just kind of fumble through this for a year.
Yeah.
A lot of people have that. I had that attitude though 10 years ago. I didn't want to pay for anything. I was, happy to try to. I was happy to do it at the time. I wouldn't do it now, because I just was
Now it's
okay with
just, you know,
trial and
I tell
error.
people it's
But
like, look, if it takes 10 hours to learn something and find it and learn that piece of information, or an hour and you pay it and it's not too expensive, spend that hour. That's 9 hours you could spend working on your business on things that have a return.
But also, as far as advertising goes, like this is the thing. It's like if you're doing ads for yourself or if you have a client, like you have to get comfortable spending money.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to waste money, right? I'm not saying
yeah.
like, if you're spending $30 a day and you're getting no conversions, then obviously you stop. But it's like, so a lot of the big part of the job is managing client expectations and helping them be patient through the process. Cause it's all testing. That's the thing about marketing is that, and why it's such an in-demand skill is like it's not like accounting, right? Where like, there's obviously creative write-offs you can get, but like or bookkeeping, it's like, dude, you spent this, you made this. It's set in stone. Like this is the one way to do this. This is how the IRS wants this filed. But with marketing, there's all these different approaches and different strategies. There's a level of creativity to it, but it's all experimentation. It's more like being a scientist. So even the best marketers, and I've known people, these are 7-8 figure earners. They could launch a campaign. It completely bombs.
Yeah. It
just
happens.
like a movie. There could be a big movie star that's like in a big movie and it sucks.
So Ed says he wants help from someone that knows what they're doing. Again, you could probably give him one of your students. That's probably like the best bet.
Yeah. I mean, there's, my students or, there are freelancers out there that you can hire, that's all a little minefield in and of itself. I hire people too to do my ads, and it's always a matter of really, you want to look for their.
Want to know something funny? Sammy says I can help you. So Sammy, the guy who asked the question. So Sammy, that's how you do it. You go on a LinkedIn Live. So
go help him.
Yeah.
I love it. We're making connections.
Nah, I'm happy for you, Sammy. So
but if you do hire someone, like, I guess I could help you with is just to be.
You gotta know who you hire, because I've met some people who are like, hey, my minimum charge is like $1,500 a month, and it's a 20-year-old kid, and I could ask him stuff, and it's like you do not, like, you just got into this last week.
It's helpful to know. And like I said, my students, like, there's some people out there teaching people, like, that's what would happen a year ago or so with like Ty Lopez and stuff. They were teaching people to create a social media agency, and it was all focused on sales and hype. And it was like, oh yeah, Facebook ads are so powerful. Just, you get 10 clients, you can make all this money. It was like, dude, what about the work? What about the work? And that's why I have my students start out working very modestly. But it is helpful to educate yourself enough to know what to ask and what to look for. You either want to find somebody you feel is knowledgeable or has some case studies. Not everybody has case studies because, you have to get permission from your clients. But, I think, I've had a good sense of, I think your intuition helps too. Like I remember when I was hiring somebody to help me just because I'm so busy. I just don't have the time. And it's harder for me to advertise my own. I don't know if you're like that. Like it's harder for me to promote my own stuff. It's easier for me to advertise other people's things. But I had a guy who honestly sounded like he really knew what he was doing. Like he had this, he had a good pitch. Just didn't like him. I didn't like the vibe. I didn't feel like trustworthy. He was trustworthy. But you should get a general understanding. So you at least have some, like, even just the basic concepts of like performance. Like you need to know if you're hiring someone, what are your goals? And if you're like, I don't know, I want to make more money. Like, well, what are your specific? Do you want to get more exposure? Do you want to, what's your current, how much does it cost for you right now to get a lead? How much does it cost for you right now to get a sale? So you can measure it. And you want to, whoever you hire, you want them to be specific with you about stuff. Like, I really I hired a guy to help me because I'm getting into YouTube now, which is a new platform for me. And it is a different beast than all the other stuff I teach. It's like, it's another world over there on YouTube. And I hired a guy before, and he was inexpensive and competent, but didn't really bring any creativity to what I was doing. He didn't have any real insight on like, hey man, this ad works on YouTube, this ad doesn't. And he did a little bit, but this new guy I hired is so much more detailed. He's like, no man, you got to change this, and this doesn't work with that. And he's just so taking care of me and my brand that I'm like, I like this guy.
Yeah.
You know, and when we discussed it. So yeah, you guys should talk.
yeah. No, it's always awesome. So let's wrap up. Any final thoughts? I've shared the links. Again, message me or Seth if you sort of want to connect. He has the free course, and then if you're interested, buy the paid course. It's not too expensive compared to other things. And again, Seth is, compared to other people, who sell dreams, you sell reality, right? You kind of tell people how it is and what the roadmap is like. And, you don't promise, hey, make millions of dollars. It's like, hey, start off, you make a little, you get up. And, if you keep on working and testing and trying new things, improving your skills and adapting, you'll get pretty high up there.
I absolutely is my whole thing, man. That's what inspires me. Because I've seen so many scammy, like, hyped up things. There's even some in my space now. People promising remote jobs, 10K in 30 days. It's just an absolutely complete exaggeration. And I've got the proof. I have this great community of people who've blown my mind with what they've done. And you can see them all on my Instagram or on my YouTube page. Not trying to convince anybody, but I think it's very helpful to mostly what people need to see is, this isn't some, get rich quick nonsense.
Okay, cool.
And it's just a matter of knowing where the demand is.
Awesome. So everybody, another episode of LinkedIn Insomnia. Thank you guys for listening. Again, stay in contact. And thank you, Seth. And I'll have him back on again if you guys request it. I think this was a very informative episode. I hope you had fun. This is the first LinkedIn Live, so hope you had fun.
Yeah, thanks, man. Maybe next time we can talk just about college.
Yeah, no, next time we'll just talk about college. All right, cool. Thanks, everybody.